And here with their reactions to Shelby's report and more, foreign policy expert and economist Michael Szanto and retired Air Force Brigadier General and Newsmax contributor Blaine Holt. General Holt, I'm going to start with you here. One of the headlines that stood out to me over the weekend was Vladimir Putin once again threatening nuclear war with the West, specifically if anyone from the West were to put troops on the ground. How serious is he about that threat, do you think?
Yeah, good afternoon. He's very serious about that threat, and it's actually very unusual for him to beat the nuclear drums. That's normally something they leave for Medvedev to leak into social media just about the time then there's a NATO event or two happening at the same time. But this is a very direct threat, and it's designed to check what we hear coming from NATO, where Macron is talking about maybe the next step is to put French troops on the ground in Ukraine. You've got the Latvian prime minister essentially echoing the same thing, and a couple of others. And then there's been some assertions in the German press that there's actually NATO troops on the ground in an advisement role. But this threat on his State of the Nation address, which was the longest he's ever made, actually redefines a lot of battle lines. He's talking about no more left-right ideologies against each other in this battle for the New World Order. He speaks of the global majority against the United States and the West. And I don't just think that's hollow rhetoric. I think that's how the man sees the world. And when we see the brutality playing out in what is Ukraine, we see an offensive starting to come together. And then what needs to happen now, and you've heard me say it a million times, we're going to have to formulate a strategy on how to deal with Russia and Vladimir Putin.
Yeah, General, I know that's something you've talked about a lot is an end to all of this here. And it's been said that Russia, we know, advancing quickly, preparing for that large-scale offensive in the spring. Michael, I want to ask you about this. Our very own CEO, Chris Ruddy, he urged Speaker Mike Johnson to pass that Ukraine aid bill in the House. Do you think this is a real possibility? And I know, as Johnson has said, no Ukraine aid unless we get border corrections, policy, more funding here. What do you think happens?
Well, I completely agree with everything that, first of all, was just said. Russia's an enormous threat as the world's largest nuclear arsenal, and they're devoted to countering American leadership. That aid from the House might be critical to protecting Ukraine. And if Ukraine falls, Russia and China both, and China unfortunately appears to be allied with Russia at this point, could promote chaos around the world, including the Hamas October 7th atrocity that was sponsored by Russia's Iranian friends. So that aid from Congress might be critical, and we shouldn't be naive about it. Russia has the world's largest nuclear arsenal. They could use nuclear weapons at various points. They're incredibly dangerous. They remain the only existential threat to the United States, and we need to stop them in Ukraine. If we don't stop them in Ukraine, they will go further, and their Chinese and Iranian friends will promote chaos around the world.
Blaine, General Holt, we have about 30 seconds left, but I do want to get your thoughts on this. Reuters is reporting that Medvedev, who you referenced, this is why I want to get your thoughts on this, of course, the deputy chairman of Russia's Security Council, has said that Ukraine is Russia and historical territory needs to come home. If that's the vision of Russia after invading a sovereign country, what does that tell you about a potential off-ramp and peace?
So that's a very interesting statement for him to make, and it could be, and amidst all this chaos and all of this very dangerous rhetoric, it could be an overture towards a negotiation. But on our side, what I see is a State Department with the lights turned out, and they're more concerned with ceasefire in Gaza than they are with this war that's gone on for 2 years and cost so much. So if that's what Medvedev says, then take him at his word and say, you'll get a chance to prove that. Let's have a talk.
Michael, real quick, you got 10 seconds here. Does an end mean Ukraine giving up land?
Let's hope Ukraine is able to liberate all their land. We cannot let, just like with Desert Storm, naked aggression survive. They cannot go unanswered, or else we'll have chaos around the world. Russia needs to give up all occupied Ukrainian land.
All right, gentlemen, we got to leave it there. General Blaine Holt, Michael Szanto, we appreciate you both coming on.
Take care.